गणपतये नमः। ॐ गणपतये नमः। वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। ॐ गणपतये नमः।
जयधारी माँ। हर जीवन अनेक प्रकार के रंगों से भरा हुआ है। बातचीत वही रंग बांटेगी आप सबके साथ। हम सब एक हैं, बस सोच अलग अलग है। बटोर लीजिए उन रंगों को, जो भी आप चाहें इस बातचीत से, और ढाल लीजिए अपनी सोच में। यही मकसद है इस बातचीत का। आइए मिलते हैं अपने प्यारे से मेहमान से। अतिथि देवो भव।
जयधारी माँ आप सबको we welcome, very welcome. Mummy met Sir Ruskin Bond sir in Missouri, and we're carrying forward that conversation.
मुझे कान के चाहिए।
Today's Baatcheet, we let Mummy get her. You want to get your?
Are you
You
getting
wanna
cover?
Yes, we wait for your headphones.
No, go ahead. I'm hearing you. Go ahead. Don't delay any moment. It's very precious.
Ji. Today's Baatcheet is going to be a very comforting Baatcheet.
Yes.
We thank God, we thank Ma for Ruskin Bond sir,
Yeah.
for people like him. I do believe either you add to the light of the universe or you don't, or some people take away from it. He is added to the light of the universe. He is so loving and giving and caring and affectionate. He makes you believe in goodness all over again. We see a video on him and then we get to talk to him.
Quickly.
Ruskin Bond sir.
People are waiting.
Ji, we
People
see
are
a
waiting.
video. We see our
Yeah.
video.
Thank you. That was a super introduction. Hmm? Just
We
like a
love you,
film
sir.
unfolding.
We love you,
Undoubtedly.
sir. We love you. Sir,
Thank you.
we're all
Yes,
very fond of you, sir.
I'm overwhelmed by the way you introduced me with all those pictures and your and your legendaries under them.
How lovely.
Thank you.
I,
Sir, sir, you've held your own. Your simplicity has been your strength. How did you do it, sir?
how did I do?
Your
Yes,
simplicity is your strength. How did you
Your
do it?
Do
simplicity.
what, darling?
The simplicity is your strength.
Oh, simplicity. I guess I, I, well, when I was a schoolboy, and I had a good teacher of English, and he always told me, Bond, write as simply as you can, uh, because I, we want you to convey what you're thinking to the reader. And we want clarity, it's as much as simplicity. So he said, after all, writing is communication. And the best way to communicate is to be as simple as possible because, after all, readers vary from the very sophisticated to the very simple. So you must try and find a mean so that everybody can at least understand what you're saying. So perhaps the simplicity on my part was deliberate, although by nature, um, people often say to me in Hindi, ये तो बहुत सीधा आदमी है, which is not true. I'm not सीधा at all. I'm like a jalebi, very involved. uh, so I'm not really I'm a very complicated person, but I try to be simple for the sake of other people.
That's again your simplicity saying all of that, sir.
Yes.
Sir, you were very close to your daddy. You were very close to your father. And he gave you your name. Do you remember that day when he named you Ruskin Bond? Do you remember that day, sir?
Well, yes. Well, I was a babe in arms in Kasauli, where I was born, and that's where they gave me my name. And Ruskin actually was, I don't know, he must have been an admirer of John Ruskin, who was a writer and as far as I go concerned, a very dull writer because he wrote about art and archaeology in a very Victorian, old-fashioned way. Hmm. And I I find John Ruskin to be a very boring writer. But nevertheless, maybe my father wanted me to do something on those lines. And in a way, it was prophetic because I did become a writer, though I certainly didn't write like John Ruskin. Um, the full name was Owen Ruskin Bond, Owen, Owen, which is a Welsh word meaning brave. And over the years, since I found I'm not brave at all, when there's danger lurking, I run. I have strong legs, so I can run very fast. So I usually fleeing, mm, and not in the least brave. So I dropped the name Owen. I just leave it as Ruskin Bond. Good.
Sir, what happened when you asked the publisher to send the book back to you because they were delaying it, the first
Oh,
book?
what
What
happened
happened?
when a book?
With the first book, they were delaying it.
Yes, well, those soon as I, finished school, um, I was naturally at school good at essay writing and that sort of thing, but and I wanted to be a professional writer. So as soon as I'd finished school, I borrowed an old typewriter and started sending out my little stories to magazines all over India. This was 1951, 52. And most of them came back because I was still really learning, and but the odd one got published. In fact, the first story was published in in a in a big family magazine that we had in India called the Illustrated Weekly of India. Now it's gone now, like most magazines of that period. And I also sent stuff to newspapers, and slowly things started getting published. You didn't get paid much in those days, so if I got 25 rupees for a story, I was thrilled. A 16-year-old just out of school. Um, I I didn't have to depend on my mother for pocket money. So and with in those days, even with 5 rupees, I remember you could see 3 pictures. Or buy 2 paperback books. Or go and stuff yourself at the chart shop. so, um, so I enjoyed the making a little money from writing, and I thought, well, this is a nice way to live. If I can write more and better, and and uh, and continue in this way, maybe I'll become a decent writer and a successful one. Because if you go back to the 1950s, there were very few writers in India who made a living from it. There were 2 or 3 like R.K. Narayan and Mulkrajanand, uh, but they had to publish abroad, in order to get royalties and to have some recognition. So publishing in India took a long time to come of age. We had lots of magazines and newspapers, and I wrote for them. But book publishing was in its infancy then. You had school books and textbooks, but general literature and books of novels and poetry and essays, they were they weren't they were imported. We didn't have our own. So it's only after the around 1980 that things changed. About 40 years back, 40, 50 years back. And we started, our own publishers started coming up, family publishers or, or companies, and foreign publishers too came here because they found there was a market for books in India, and a good market, in fact, a growing market because of the spread of education. And that's why today, that's why I'm so lucky, because having been writing for so many years, I've sort of benefited from the development of publishing and book reading and the increase in the numbers of educated young people, not just young people, but by now old people too. So there you are. You're getting me now. It's for you to talk. I'm talking too much.
No,
We
sir,
want to
it's
hear
all for
you.
you, sir. It's all for you, sir. So, what made you come back to India? What was that moment like when you decided
To
that
come
you're going
back
to?
into India was purely an emotional, sentimental, personal choice. I After finishing school, my mother sent me off to England, and of course, not having money, I took a job there. I took various jobs all off and on while I did my writing at night. But after a couple of years, 2 3 years, the urge to come back kept getting stronger. I think what brought me back was, well, maybe people I cared for, generally, friends, familiars, the land itself, the atmosphere. Um, I never really felt at home, let's say, in the UK or Europe. I was always sort of longing to get back, to everything that here. ranging from friends to the bazaar, the chaat shop, and the festivals, and actually being a part of life here, because I think it's where you really grow up. That's home, and the first 16, 17 years of my life uh, were all here, and you can't you can't do away with those wherever you go. You take them with you. Um, and I was determined to have it back in a way. That
Yes.
why should I make a different kind of life in a strange country, even though the language was mine? So my loyalty was never to England, but it was to the English language in a way, because I made a living from it. And I see now, of course, saying the English language is also now an Indian language. We publish more books in India than they do in Britain. There are, I think, now more writers here. Every day in the mail, I get a book from somebody or the other. It could be a 5-year-old kid, or a 95-year-old general writing his memoirs, but everybody seems to be writing. And
Yes.
so there are all kinds of publishers too. Publishers, uh,
Yes.
those who give you royalties and pay you, and there's other kinds where you have to pay. Mm. Uh, it's what so it's because I think the attraction of, in a way, of being a published writer has sort of grown over the years.
Yes, sir.
And I even meet kids who tell me, "So there was a little boy who looked up at me and said," he was about 8 or 9, "So I'll be a better writer than you when I grow up." I said, "All right." I
So
said,
what?
"Well, go to it." There'll
So,
be
Mr.
many.
Bond, Mr. Bond, when
Yes,
you were, what would be your advice to a teenager who wants to be a writer? What would be your advice?
yes. My advice to a teenager who wants to be a writer, that it's a very noble aspiration. And first, make sure you can write. Look, uh, well, at least have a foundation in the language that you're going to write in, whether it's English or Hindi or any of our multitude of languages in India. And so you must have a firm foundation. You don't have to be fastidious about grammar and things, but you must be at ease with the language. And so language is all important. Then you have to have some ideas to put down. You have to have something to say. Maybe you're good at telling stories, so you can be a storyteller. Maybe you like history, so maybe you can think of writing history books someday. Or maybe, okay, you become a doctor and you'll write a medical book, or you can write a scientific treatise. So you don't have to be a best-selling novelist. But I think the majority of young people or teenagers who set out to write nowadays want to write that bestseller. That's maybe making them a fame and giving them fame and fortune. So that's a great. Well, that's all right. It's good to be ambitious. I was ambitious. I wanted fame and fortune. After a few years, I found it wasn't easy to come by. um, but but try for it. Yes, go for it. But have some confidence in yourself. But have a love for the language, a love for books, because all successful writers you'll find have been readers. When they're young. You start off as a reader, and then you decide, oh, I like certain writers, certain books. I want to write them one too. I want to be like that writer. Not write the same thing, but be another writer. as well. So it's um, so all that's so that's very commendable. But of course, that overnight bestseller that's going to bring you fame and fortune, that comes very, very rarely. The majority of writers have to work sometimes for many years, producing good work, many books, stories, writing, um, and maybe getting by with a limited income, as I did for for 40, 50 years or more. Mm. And so you don't suddenly overnight become a famous writer or a bestseller. Once in a while, let's say 1 out of 200 might be lucky. But then you have another challenge. If you're successful with your first book, what about the second and the third and the fourth? You people expect you to keep writing and to
Yeah.
keep producing books, and you feel you have to maintain your own reputation and fame.
Yeah.
So
What
it's
kind of discipline,
yeah,
Mr. Bond?
di-
Mr. Bond, what
discipline
kind of
is
discipline? What kind
oh
of discipline does it require?
yes, great amount. Discipline is well, it's I think as important as that familiarity and with language and your ambition. Discipline is all important. Um, I still try to write a page or two every morning, and generally do, and I've been doing that all my writing life. So then the work, therefore, you get into the habit of work, and your thought processes also sort of come to the fore because you're going to sit down and do something, and also you've got to, if you're going to make a profession out of it or a vocation or be a writer uh, for good and all, then you have to do it regularly. Um, you have to be disciplined. You don't have to fix a specific time, but try to do something every day. You might miss a few days. You don't have to be fanatical about it. You may not be feeling too well, or you can give yourself a break. But I think you should set yourself a target that this year, this year I'm going to write 5 or 6 new stories. I'll write maybe a memoir about a period of my life that was interesting, and I'll write a the odd essay which I enjoy doing. If I'm in the mood, I might write some poetry. But I always think every year I must bring out 2 or 3 books, whether they're adult for adults or for children or just for myself. Hmm? It doesn't matter. But so it's good to plan ahead as well. So it's not just a question of sitting down and being, Shakespeare or Dickens or Premchand. You've got to be yourself, look inwards, and find something to offer to the reader. I'm talking
Yes,
too
Sir,
much. There's
You
that
eat water.
frog in my throat.
I'll get you water.
yes.
Yeah.
Sir,
Do they say no, they don't. In France, they eat frogs' legs, but not frogs. So I think
Tell us,
sir,
I've,
what is your day like? One second, if I could.
I've never
What is
eaten
your
a frog. No.
uh, what is your day like, Mr. Bond? What's your day like?
What's my day like? Okay, yes. Well, at at about 6:37, Srishti's kind mother Bina brings me a cup of tea. Very important, and and then okay, so I'll get up. I wait for the sun to come through my window in winter anyway, because it's still a bit chilly. So the sun comes through, and I'm very lucky. It comes right onto my bed. So with the sun on, I bask in it for 10 or 15 minutes. So then I'll get up. Um, there's a little sunroom at the corner of the building, which gets the morning sun. So I'll take my writing pad and ballpoint pen there. So the first thing I do in the morning is to write something, because then my conscience is clear. I've done something. For the rest of the day, I can do anything I want. Uh, Go out and have a big meal with Shishti and Siddharth, or go down to Dehradun, or just sleep, or read books, or because my conscience is clear. I've written 2 or 3 pages, and that's, I'm not going to overwork, but the fact that I've done what I set out to do makes the rest of the day so easy. So why leave it to the end of the day? Because the end of the day might come and you may not get a chance to write what you wanted to write. And sometimes you're fresh in the morning, and um, unless unless you're the sort of teenager who goes to a party every night. Parties are all right, but don't overdo them. And so that's really the nicest time to do your writing. A sunny room. There's the cat on the next chair. Sometimes he's in my chair. I have to fight with the cat to get my chair in the sun. Maybe the cat. And now my eyes are weak. So the other day I sat on her, on our poor cat, and she did objected. She gave a shriek, but she didn't claw me. It was very kind of her. so, so anyway, so having done my 2 or 3 pages, I can now enjoy my breakfast, because breakfast is very important to me. I think if I'm reached the age of 1991 now, it's because I've enjoyed my breakfast. I was just this morning sitting there having my fried egg and thinking, since the age of going back to the age of 4 or 5, or the earliest memories till today, I think I've hardly missed a day when I haven't had my egg for breakfast. It can be a boiled egg, or a fried egg, or a poached egg, or a scrambled egg, or an omelette. I
Lovely,
even
sir.
used to try making omelets once, and I'm going to write a book. It's called 101 Failed Omelets, uh, because they come out rather squishy. I don't know why. Maybe I put too much tomato in them. Anyway, these so I just boiled egg is simplest, but even that can be complicated, because the water takes longer to boil up here at this altitude somehow.
Yeah, yeah.
So the other book will be called 50 Different Ways of Boiling an Egg. Good. Good. I usually end up with a quarter or half boiled egg. But there you are. Breakfast is important, because having had breakfast, then I am in the right mood to deal with my publishers. Because if I've survived as a writer, it's because today I have half a dozen publishers at least, most of them in New Delhi. And and over the years, I've had others. Some have vanished, including my first publisher in England. So the publishers come and go as rapidly as writers. So, uh, but I then have to sometimes correspond or deal with publishers. They don't like writing letters now. Everybody wants to do things on the app or on the phone. So I usually take a little help from Siddharth or Srishti. And so usually we correspond about the next book, or why the last book isn't selling, or when I should expect my next royalty statement. because all my life I've been dependent on royalties from books, and small checks from newspapers and magazines, so, which is fun. It makes it adventurous, because you never know, and I've never known what I'm going to make in the next month, in the coming month. Writers don't get pensions, they don't get provident funds, so you have to, in a way, go in for a lot of guesswork as to you don't know how your book is going to sell. You might sell 10, 15,000 copies. On the other hand, you might sell. I once got a statement from a publisher showing they'd sold only 3 copies of one of my books. So don't be discouraged, young writer, if your book isn't selling. A lot of mine didn't sell either. And some of them, even today, go rather slowly. Um,
Sir,
so
we're going to show
it's
you
all
some.
an adventure. You must think that in terms of this writing for a living, in a way, being an adventure of sorts. It's it's an adventure you do in your own room at home. It's not like climbing a mountain. Well, it is
Yeah.
like climbing a mountain in a way, because it's an intellectual mountain.
Yes.
But so it keeps you alert. You don't because you have to keep. There have been over the years. I I had last year only, a couple of years back, my bank manager would come to me and say, "Mr. Bond, your balance has fallen rather low." So I simply sit down back to the typewriter and do something. So the fact that you need something, some sort of reward, um, means that you're going to sit down and work,
Yes.
because
Yes.
otherwise it's not going to come.
Absolutely.
No, it's not going to come.
And then what after that? What do you do after that?
Yes, after the interval
Publishers?
of,
Yeah.
well, lunch comes around, and then I have lunch with the family, and whatever it is. Um, it can be dal bhat one day or chicken curry the next. So I'm not a fussy eater, actually. I learned at uh, boarding school, to eat whatever was put in front of me. Otherwise, you went hungry. And you don't complain either. When I was in boarding school, going back to 1950, um, and my headmaster, I was a prefect, so I was sitting at the top table. Headmaster came around and said, "Bond, is what do you think of the food today? Is the food good?" I said, "No, sir, it's not very good." Dead silence. Come to my office. I went to his office, bend over, whack, whack, 3 with the cane.
Oh, God.
I, I said, "Sir, are you kidding me? You asked me a question, I told you're kidding me for telling the truth." Because you asked me if the food was good. I said, "Isn't good." So then I learned not to complain. Not to complain, at least not, not if you're probably not if you're in school, or in the army, or in the police. So you don't complain.
Then after lunch, what do you do?
So yeah, well, anyway, after that, actually, the food did get a bit better after that. So maybe some good came of it after all.
Yes, yes. Then what do you do after lunch?
Oh, after lunch, well, I'll read a bit. I I read a lot. I read a couple of books every week. Sometimes old favorites, sometimes a new book or a classic. Or I like reading biography, especially of writers or other writers, or of anyone who's done something interesting. And then I'll read a detective story or a crime story. I read all kinds of books, even the dictionary at times. There are always new words to pick up and learn. You can never learn or know all the words in the dictionary or a complete dictionary. And the history of words is interesting too, how they originate. Um, uh, just, the word, not words only, but phrases. Just now I used that phrase, a frog in the throat. Well, how did it originate? Somebody must have had a frog in his throat.
Quite right. Correct.
So anyway, so then it's reading time, take a nap, and evening comes on. I might for it sometime watch the news to see all the terrible things that are happening in the world around. But I'll try to avoid it late at night, otherwise I won't sleep well. So I think the best thing if you're going to, I think the best thing is to read yourself, to read before you go to sleep. Or if I get an idea or two, I may make a note. I mean, won't be writing because once it gets dark, I can't see very well. But if I have an idea, I'll make a note of it. I keep a notebook handy. So writers is in fact writing all the time. A writer, a proper writer, a real writer, he's constantly writing because even if it's not physically putting pen to paper, you're thinking about what you're going to write, about stories, you're getting ideas. And you want to you don't want to forget them, so you put them down sometimes, and you might use them, you might not, but it's useful to make notes and to keep a record of things. So in a way, you're writing all the time, and in fact, I've even sometimes make a record of interesting dreams because. Sometimes a dream can become a story.
Yes.
And dreams, well, we remember the ones we have, I think, just before we wake up. And sometimes a nice dream, you don't want it, you want it to go on. And you don't want it to end.
Sir, all your dreams and all your thoughts and all your writings come from your heart of gold.
Yes.
All your thoughts and dreams come from your heart of gold, and we are going to show you something what your heart is filled with. We've made a little small video for you. It's your heart of gold.
Stories come from the heart. That's the title of one of my books, actually.
Lovely.
Lovely, from the heart. We show you something, sir. We show you something on screen, and then we have a surprise for you.
That's right.
They have a video. They're going to show you a video.
Sure.
Yeah, that's good.
How beautiful.
Did you like that, sir?
Very nice. And yes, she really looks after.
Yes, join in with us. Oh.
Lovely, Shrishti. Lovely.
So much.
She's very kind to me. Looks after me and more than I can express.
She loves you and you love her.
Yes.
And when we ask somebody special to join us now, sir? It's a surprise.
Everyone loves me, only Mimi the cat, somehow she doesn't, because I don't feed her. She loves, she's very matlabi. She goes to Rakesh because he feeds her every day.
Sir, we have a surprise. Sohini's joined us.
Sohini Mitra, penguin.
Oh, acha, Sohini.
Hello.
Hello,
Good evening,
Sony.
Mr. Bond,
How did
and good
you
evening,
how
everyone
did
else,
you
Dr.
turn up?
Preeti and
Howdy.
Saina. Such a pleasure to be here.
Yes. So, any,
So
how's it been?
so Sony is there. So Sony, when I said spent some time fighting with publishers, I didn't mean you.
I was smirking. No. I mean, Mr. Bond has been more than kind to Penguin, to me, and
Gosh,
I
yes,
mean, what can
my
I say?
Penguin. It goes back to, well, Penguin started in 1986 in India, and I think 1987 was they did the Room on the Roof,
One of
and
the
then
first publications from the company and from the imprint
yes,
was Mr.
and
Bond's book,
not only
including
Penguin, but
Panther's Moon. Yeah,
Puffin too, which started with one of mine,
short
Panther's
story
Moon,
collections.
Puffin
Panther's
books.
Moon.
Yes,
Absolutely.
the first three. One was Panther's Moon, and then there were two other books by other writers. One was a history book, I remember.
Romila Thappar's
That's right,
Indian
right.
Tales.
Yes.
Yeah.
And,
So, yeah, incredibly grateful to Mr. Bond for this continued association, for all the love, for all the wonderful words and books that he has written for us and written for, the
well,
readers of the country,
I'm still
and still going
bombarding
on.
Sony with books. Those early morning pre-breakfast writings will all be heading her way soon.
Which is what we wait for, absolutely.
So
How is it
any,
working with him? Mohini, how is it, Sohini? How is it working with Mr. Bond?
Well,
It's, I think, any editor's dream to work with Mr. Bond. Mr. Bond, I go first. So I'm going to keep it short in the interest of time, but it's really a dream because, firstly, when you open a letter, it's handwritten. So the letter which arrives, and I actually have something very recently that he sends. It's all a handwritten exchange that happens. I don't know if you can see. This is a covering letter.
yes.
And attached to it is actually the manuscript, which is also handwritten, by the way.
My God. My
Everything,
God.
yes. I still write by hand. I used
He
to
still
type a
writes
bit,
by hand.
but I enjoy writing by hand. It's it's more fun. Because I also being lazy, I can write by hand in bed or in the sunroom or under a tree. Although the last time I was writing under a chestnut tree, a chestnut fell on my head, and
He made
so
that up, you know that,
I
right?
don't. So, but
No,
there you
so
are, right?
it's basically, I mean, if you look at his handwriting, it's just something that you will. In fact, in my almost 18-19 years of career at Penguin Random House, if somebody asked me what is it that you treasure the most, I mean, apart from the relationship with these wonderful and gifted authors, it's these little things that you really like. Just imagine what I am holding right now is absolute treasure.
Yes. But
So
when I was a small boy in school, when I was only 6 or 7, I've still got the letter from my father telling me, Ruskin, you must improve your handwriting. Don't write too small. Don't use small letters. Write with bigger letters so that it can be read clearly. And so there's a whole page of a letter from my father, which I still have, which he wrote in 1943, 44, about my handwriting, telling me to improve it, which I did.
he has a beautiful handwriting, and like I said, it's a dream to work with him because, firstly, obviously his work does not need much editing per se, because it's the voice or things that he writes about. You're so lost, because as an editor, we are also the first reader of anybody's work, right? So I think when you get to work with an author like Ruskin Bond, it's also like just you get lost in that work, like you don't think of the technical aspects of, oh, let me edit this and that. I mean, now, like, working with him, especially because he's not on, like, on any email, and like he said that he has to occasionally trouble and seek help from Shrishti, Siddharth, who have all been extremely kind, because we have day-to-day exchanges. When the book is going to press, we need his approval on a cover, we need his approval on a forward, or we want to show him the illustrations, and we keep him involved, even though, like technology has never come in the way. And which is why it's just that understanding and the support system that he has built around him, that makes life so much easy, because all of them come to support us. On WhatsApp also, I have sent him, he's not on WhatsApp, so I have to end up sending it to Rakesh ji or Siddharth or Shrishti, and they'll quickly get his approval. And I also occasionally write to him by hand. And he's probably the only person I still write letters to. Though over the years, obviously, the number of, the frequency has
Well,
definitely gone
yes, and I enjoy the whole process of a book being created. From the first proofs and the illustrations, and the way it's designed and bound and put together, and the cover illustration. All this is exciting for me too. I don't know. I suppose some writers take it all for granted, but I think it's fascinating in itself. The
And
production
it's
of a book, the
lovely
editing and
also to
putting the
see,
way
like,
it's
the
put together.
characters. Sorry, go ahead, sir.
Yes.
No,
Yes,
I was
sir.
saying that the characters that he writes about, to see
Yes.
them actually, some illustrator bringing that to life
Yes.
itself is quite
Right.
magical. Yeah,
Illustrations are so important, especially in children's books, of course.
in
And
children's
even
books.
otherwise, a cover is so important. I think it makes a difference. Uh, an attractive cover can make a difference.
So,
So
Hini,
many things. So many
maybe
things come into play.
maybe you can compile all his handwritings also one day, all his
Yes.
handwritten letters. You can
Uh,
have
Well,
Mr. Bond's.
Sony
am I?
has used one or two in facsimile with Hold On to Your Dreams. That was the last book. And there's another one coming up in May. Um, Life's Magic Moments, it's called.
Lovely.
So um, I think there's that. I've done a handwritten letter for that too.
Yeah, we have it. We'll be carrying that in the book, his handwritten
Yes.
forward, and as it came to us, we are using it without editing. I
Yes.
mean, in its raw form, just so
Yeah.
readers also get to experience. It's like such a personal thing, right? It becomes a lot more personal when you put it like that.
So, Hini, why not have a QR code and have his voice in it so one can hear Mr. Bond?
Pardon?
You can
So,
have a QR
so
code
here,
on his book.
I'll tell you something, Dr. Bedi. We also have audiobooks of almost every book that he has published, right?
Yes.
And there's
Yes.
a particular
Yes.
series for younger readers where Mr.
Oh.
Bond has lent his voice to
Very
that
Yes,
chapter
yes, I
books.
did.
You can
I did.
actually read it.
Remember 5 or 6
Yeah,
of them
yeah,
in Delhi, right? And
the
got a frog
cherry
in my
tree.
throat.
Yeah.
excellent.
I enjoyed that. I remember, and I think those are still available and
They
around.
sell very well, but yeah, post COVID, it became a challenge to get him to, especially with his
Yes,
age and other, get him to a studio and
I
record.
think
Um,
I've done close to 100 titles for Penguin and Puffin uh,
much
from
more, I would think. Yeah,
1987 till today.
easily, much more, Mr. Bond. We've never counted, but I
No,
really think it's
I
more than
haven't
that.
counted either.
Yeah,
Don't
you should
count.
do that
Never
someday.
count.
Never count, never jinx it.
Srishti, you want to join the frame beta with your dada?
Yeah, sure. It's just not enough space,
Yes,
but I'll sit
join
here on the
join
sofa.
the frame with your dada. Tell us about all the love he pours all the time.
I'd say he's the most loving, caring, and the kindest person I've ever known. His love for every single thing that is around us.
Oh, she's exaggerating.
No, I am not but this is true, honestly. His love for nature, his love for flowers, his love for cat, food, fruits. I can only see love around. And he's very empathetic, very kind, very kind.
He loves his breakfast too.
He loves his breakfast. He likes the strawberry shakes that I make for him or the cakes I bake for him. So we both enjoy all of that.
Actually, I'm just like the cat.
No.
Very matlabi.
Sir, sir,
Mr.
what
Bond,
makes
do
you
you,
understand? What makes you understand children so well?
Yes. What's that been?
What makes you understand children so well?
I don't not sure what makes me understand. I think the fact that I had a lonely childhood when I was after I lost my father when I was only 8, and then I had to sort of adjust with a stepfather and his home, and I sort of became a bit of a loner, and I would be spend a lot of time by myself. But then I perhaps could recognize a similar. I mean, if in other kids any sort of uh, loss or deprivation or loneliness, I could sense it maybe, and maybe that helped me to understand them in some ways. Mm. Yes, because I wasn't. Um, I didn't make friends easily till I got in till I was about 16 or so.
did you
Before
have a
that,
friend, Mr. Bond? Did you have a friend when you were growing up? Who was your best friend, if there
best
was?
friend. Oh, there were friends at school. Yeah, there were some good friends at school. Um, there was so many school friends I can remember, and then also during the holidays at home. And some of them appear in my first book, The Room on the Roof. Hmm? There's Somi and Ranbir and Kishan. They were all real boys. Of course, the Room on the Roof is a fictionalized um, version of a journal I kept that year. But most of the characters in it are based on real people. And so the boys are there in it. And there was a girl too, and her name was Kiran, by the way. Uh, it's strange. It just came to me, and uh, she was very good in in sums and mathematics, which I was not. But I would help her in her essay writing, and she would help me with my sums. I remember now, and so we had a very good working relationship, you could say.
Did you have a
Uh,
writer's block at times? Did you get a
hmm?
writer's block at times? Did you ever get a writer's block?
Writer's block. I'm often asked that question because I think a lot of writers do get it. Or I mean, students get it taking exams. They're halfway through answering a question and then they're stuck. Or writing an essay and they don't know what to say next or write next. So you've got to be before you sit down to write a story or an essay or even a longer work. You must write it in your head. See it visually like a film, in a way. Beginning, middle, and end. The action, even the characters, visualize them, and some of the dialogue. So you've written it. It's all there. So it's only a question of putting it into words and
Yes,
making it readable
yes,
and
yes,
good prose.
yes,
So if you just start writing straight off because you have an idea, but then you haven't developed it, so then you
yes.
might well break down.
So wonderful.
So I don't often get writer's block because I won't start working on a story or a piece unless I've worked it out in my head.
That's a secret.
Or you can,
That,
or you could even make notes on it. But it should be, you must see it. It's a good to have a sort of. Maybe I was lucky. I have a visual sort of way of writing, so I see the thing happening before I write about it.
perfect.
Yeah. It's like
Queenie,
Shrishti,
what?
tell us.
Yes.
Shrishti, ask Shrishti, what is the one quality you love in grandfather?
the
One
one,
quality
You
that I
Anything.
love
love in your grandfather. You tell us.
the one quality
that I love in
You.
you. What's that quality?
Any.
that who loves in
I
me.
love one quality. So whenever I make something for him and I would serve it to him, he would never say it's bad. Never ever. Even if the salt is less, he would say no, it's
Never,
best.
of course, because it goes back to that incident in school when I told the headmaster it's bad. So now I never say it's bad, even if she still does. Give me something. Actually, see, the last time you made that strawberry milkshake, it was a bit khatta.
Now I know what I need to work on.
Don't you taste it before you giving it to him?
No, I taste it sometimes. I thought you would like it.
Maybe she gives me the thing she doesn't like.
No. So I keep experimenting, and the first one is he. He's the one who tasted first.
Pity Siddharth isn't here. Just a couple of hours back, he went off to Bombay because he had some meetings there. And he's trying to sell the film rights in 2 or 3 of my
Lovely. I
books.
loved meeting your family when you were announcing the Ruskin Bond International School chain. I loved meeting your entire family, Mr.
Yes,
Bond.
he's got quite a few inquiries, and working on them. So that's his
We
domain.
really look forward to your Ruskin Bond chain of international schools. It will be fantastic. Ruskin Bond schools.
Well, I don't know. Since I ran away from school at least a couple of times, I don't know if that I should that I'm the right person to inspire them. But there you are.
Sohini, what's that day like when Sir's book is out and reaches the bookstores? What's it like? What is it like?
What's that mean?
He's asking Suhini.
What is that day like when the book reaches the bookstore?
Okay, when a book reaches the bookstore.
Right. What is it like? How do you feel when the book
well, it's usually I'll get my first copies usually in the post, and so I see the first copy at home. But it's nice to see a book in a bookshop. I'll tell you an interesting anecdote. Going back to the years when I wasn't very well known, this would be 1969, 70. I'd had a little book of stories published, I think, by IBH in Bombay or somewhere. And it wasn't, I'd only had at that time a few books published. And it wasn't doing very well. And I used to, whenever I drop into a bookshop, I'd like any author, I'd see it. Do they have my book or books? Books. So I went into a small bookshop in Missouri then, not the present one, and looking around, do they have my books? Couldn't see any. Then there was a pile of books, there one, by best-selling authors, Kushwant Singh and Chobade and various Jeffrey Archers and foreign writers. And I saw my book right at the bottom of the pile, little book of stories, underneath this pile of books. So I was very naughty. I pulled it out from underneath the pile and put it on top. But the book, the owner of the bookshop had seen me. So he came. He didn't know I was the author. So he came around. He picked it up. He looked at it and he said in Hindi, "Ye nahi chalta. This doesn't sell. Ye nahi chalta." And he put it back underneath. So to teach him a lesson, I bought it. So the desperate author had to buy his own book.
How wonderful. Super.
That's not true anymore, sir. You're loved and loved and loved. So before we close the program, tell us, what does life and love mean to you?
So the voice could not reach.
Sorry?
What does life and love mean to you, sir?
What does life and love mean to you?
Life and love, well, I guess the same thing, very much. But, well, we need more love in the world. There's not enough of it going around. If you only look at the newspapers every day or watch the television news, you can get a little depressed. So I think we should, overcome evil with good. That's the that was my old school motto in a way, and it was true. Well, try to understand people even if you disagree with them. Yeah, after all, people can't all have the same viewpointing, and so we must understand them as far as possible. And if love will help us to understand each other.
We all love you, sir. We love you,
Do I
Mr.
sound
Bond.
wise and philosophical?
We all love you, Mr. Bond. We love you
Your
all.
heart of gold.
Yeah.
Yes. Your heart is so blessed. It's blessed by the Almighty.
We all want to give you a big hug. All of you give a
I give
big
him
hug.
a hug on behalf of you all.
Yeah,
Yes,
please do.
Yeah.
I'm getting worn out
big.
with all these hugs.
Very lovely hug. See you again in Missouri one day.
See you in Missouri.
Please,
Sir,
yes, you must
sir,
come
we-
up. Come
sir,
up.
we see-
You used to come to play tennis when
Yes,
you were
I-
very young.
yes. But love to see you again, signing the books in a Missouri bookshop, signing every once a week. You are a rare author who would do that. Go to the bookshop and sit and meet the people who are picking up the book. You are a very rare author.
Well, I'm
You are
still
a
at home.
treasure. You are
Thank
a
you.
treasure to humanity. You are a treasure to humanity, Mr. Bond.
No, you're too kind.
Sir,
Thank you.
sir,
Wait to see your Ruskin Bond schools. Very soon to see your Ruskin Bond chain of international schools.
Yes.
sir, sir, we
All
seek
right.
we seek your blessing. We seek your blessing.
Thank you. My blessings are with you now and forever.
Thank you.
All of
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so much. Thank
We
you
love
for your
you,
blessing.
sir. We love you. You're loved. You're
Thank you
loved.
so much for your blessings.
Cherish
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Sohini, thank you. You've been so wonderful coming.
Yes, thank you
Thank
for
you
coming,
for
Sonia.
inviting me. Thank you so much.
And
That's a
thank you.
pleasure.
And thank your family, Mr. Bond. They've been very cooperative in making you available technologically.
Srishti, you keep hugging Dada.
Yeah. We keep hugging each other every day.
Please thank your brother, your family, your entire
She's putting
family.
on trouble is she's beginning to put on weight now.
Please thank your
I'm
entire
subsiding.
family who I met. Thank your family who I met in Missouri. You were wonderful for his function.
Thank
My
you.
love to your family and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Good.
you.
For making it happen.
See you all
everyone.
soon. Take care.
Thank
all.
you, sir. We love you. We love you.
Good.
Thank you. Jai Dharma. Jai Dharma. Thank you, sir. Jai Dharma. Jai Dharma. Thank you for this blessed Baatcheet. Thank you.
Thank you for making it happen, Sana. Thank
Ji,
you.
Mummy, it's Ma's Kripa.
Shakira, thank you for coming. Shakira,
Ji, Mum,
can you come up?
Mum, we are yet live.
Yes,
We-
let's say thank you to Shakira and the team behind, Sujata and Shivani. Can you
Yes.
please come up? Thank you for making it happen.